Nothing I did was working. The more I tried, the more out of control my eating became. Then, I did something I hadn't tried before. I became a savvy detective and figured things out. If I can do it, so can you. Find out more at solveyouroutofcontroleating.com.
Hi, welcome back to Solve Your Out of Control Eating. I'm Michelle Holtzberger, clinical social worker, and with me is Vicki Todd, child and adult psychoanalyst, and our eating disorder expert. So what do we have for today, Vicki?
Today we're going to meet Dan. Dan's someone who's really grappling with his weight, with depression, and with the fallout of a painful divorce. But as always, there's more to the story than meets the eye.
Okay, well, we're going to unpack Dan's journey, and it's not one you're going to want to miss. So stick around for his brief therapy session, and then join us afterwards for our insights.
I've pretty much given up on losing weight. I've tried everything: pills, shakes, food, delivery, you name it. Thinking about Ozempic, but I'm not sure my insurance will cover it.
You seem to want to talk about your weight.
That's why I'm here. Well, not really. A neighbor lady referred me to you because she says I'm depressed, but who wouldn't be when you're as big as I am? I can't do anything I used to. Used to work out and be on a travel basketball team. Now I get out of breath going up and down the stairs.
How long have you been overweight, Dan?
4 to 5 years.
Wonder what happened 4 to 5 years ago.
My wife left me.
That's pretty significant. Can you tell me more?
Not much to tell. She just left.
Hard to talk about?
Not really. She'd been having an affair, so she left me, married him. Now she pushes the baby buggy by my house.
What about that?
She wanted to have kids, but there were problems. She finally got pregnant, They had to do it this other way, artificial insemination, but she lost the baby, had problems with her blood pressure or something. I'm not sure if I was a dad for a few hours or not.
Sounds so sad, Dan.
Yeah.
Did you want to be a dad?
Yeah, but I think she blamed me. I was working all the time. My brothers and I were flipping houses. I would leave early in the morning and get home after dark covered in drywall dust. I was so exhausted. I couldn't get her pregnant. So she went out and found someone else who could. I was shocked when our bank account statement came. She had totally drained her checking and savings accounts.
How did that make you feel?
I tried to keep it a secret, but my mom went through the roof. She badmouthed Joyce all over town. He's a big shot realtor, makes a lot of dough. Everyone knows him, dresses to the nines, fake tan, big teeth, drives a Porsche. I think he was a player before he met her, but my wife's really pretty. She's 10 years older than him, but really fit. I guess he's a trophy husband. But I don't think I hold anything against her.
I think some men would be very angry at her.
Why?
Why do you suppose?
She has a right to live a happy life, have a baby. She had a really good job at an accounting firm. I got it for her. She wasn't really qualified, but my fraternity brother was a VP over there and opened all the right doors.
What about that, Dan?
I always tried to help her out when I could, still do. When her mom died of cerebral hemorrhage last year, she asked me to be the pallbearer.
Did you agree?
Yeah, of course. I've known her since junior high school. Known the whole family. Always got along with them. I don't hate her or anything. But I do wish she wouldn't push the baby buggy by my house. Well, actually, I don't care. But she also pushes it past my mom's house, and she gets rip-roaring mad. Then I have to hear about it.
Welcome back, everyone. Here we are to talk about Dan's story. And, on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward. I mean, he gained weight, he feels depressed, he wants to lose it. But there's definitely more to this story, right, Vicky?
Right. And I think it's important for us to put ourselves in Dan's shoes in order to understand his feelings. He was referred by this neighbor who has diagnosed him as depressed. Um, and we know that depression is anger turned on the self. So we need to start searching for clues. He's tried everything, Michelle. He's tried shakes, pills, all these different things, and nothing's working.
Well, he's looking out and trying all these things, but what he hasn't done is look within, right?
That's right. That's right. But he kind of quickly goes into his story. The therapist asks him, when did this all begin? And he nails it. 4 to 5 years ago, when my wife left me.
Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you what jumped out at me because I was just so agitated when you hear about the affair, when you hear about the baby buggy, when you hear about the draining the money out of the account. I mean, this is a very unkind woman.
Exactly. But again, I think we have to see if there's more to the story. I didn't think, interesting enough, I didn't think of her as unkind. I thought of her as furious,
Oh, okay.
furious and vengeful.
Yeah,
And
vindictive. Vindictive.
yes,
Yes.
and why? Why is she so angry at Dan?
Mm. I didn't even think of this until now, but if he is this out of touch with his own feelings, maybe he was that out of touch with her feelings. Here all she
That
wanted to get pregnant. He's working his butt off and he's not really connecting with her.
exactly. I wondered the same thing. If he was a negligent, kind of detached husband who didn't attend to her feelings at all. And
And
now, I'm not saying that Joyce did the right thing by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that that makes more sense to me. Because why would a woman go to the extremes that she did?
right, right.
She has this affair with what Dan describes as his pretty boy realtor. He's got the Porsche, he's wearing the suits, he's got the fake tan and the big white teeth. I mean, and then Dan describes himself coming home after hours, late. She's already in bed. He's covered in drywall dust. But the biggest thing is she wants children, and he has a very hard time getting her pregnant. I think Dan has sexual problems,
Sure, it sounds like it.
and I think he avoided her. Like she's probably making it loud and clear, I want a baby.
Sure.
And if he feels really inept in this area, man, I can flip houses. I'm a master at that.
Well, and then imagine her, right? She's working out, she's hotsy totsy, she's got it all going on. He comes home and doesn't pay her any attention. So, on top of it, if he's not looking at her feelings and then he's not looking at her physically, I could see now where the anger could be boiling up in her.
Exactly. And then along comes this realtor,
Right,
and he's very desirable, and he pays attention to her, and he's 10 years younger,
right. So,
which must have felt like such a compliment.
sure, sure, yeah. But then let's just reel it back to Dan now. So, I mean, you know, not a mean guy, not a mean guy at all, but we've established that he's just not that connected to himself and others. So for him to heal this eating problem, he's really got to get in touch with his feelings.
Yes, yes. And I think that his he doesn't want to be angry at her. He makes all kinds of excuses. Oh, she deserves a good life. She deserves children. No, I'm not mad at her. Oh, and remember, the mother is livid. And I wondered if the mother carried Dan's feelings.
If the mother carried Dan's feelings, well, I was going to say kind of like off the record, there's more going on with the mother. So if you look at this relationship between Dan and his mother, obviously something in his life primed him to not be in touch with his feelings.
Exactly.
And he's probably lived his whole life just trying to be the good guy, be the nice guy, and never really looked inside.
In a way, Michelle, kind of superficial.
Yeah.
It sounds like Dan's just been the nice guy who runs around and says yes to everybody, whatever they want him to do. And he isn't in touch at all. And I think the feeling he's avoiding here is not anger. I think it's rage. And I think it scares him. And he dumps it on his mother in whatever way, because he says, I tried to keep it a secret, but she found out. How? I mean, it probably came from Dan. Who else knew?
Right, right. Well, I think the rage has to be from very early life that
Right,
had this conflict.
right. He picked this wife. He picked this showy wife. And I wondered the same thing. Was mom showy?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And how much was mom kind of badgering Dan to have a baby? Maybe she wanted a grandbaby. And then Dan fails at that, and he's got a wife that's mad at him, and maybe a mother as well.
Poor Dan, I mean, he's got a lot of work ahead of him
He
to
does,
achieve some mastery and to begin to get in touch with his feelings.
right? But I think that's the only way these binges are going to subside. I think that Dan's big, out of control eating is his big, out of control rage. His
I,
feelings. Really, the only thing he acknowledged was feeling hopeless. I've tried pills, I've tried shakes, nothing worked. And the neighbor thinks I'm depressed, but he doesn't even own that.
right, right. Well, he displays as someone who's depressed, but we know that depression is anger turned inward. So the whole rage theory certainly fits here.
That's right. That's right.
And Dan's story is just one giant reminder that emotions don't go away and either they come out in some way, shape or form. And with him, he's just stuffing them with food.
Right. And working himself to death, probably.
Right. So, Vicky, when it comes to actions for our listeners, what do you sort of see as the next step here?
Well, I think this is kind of our mantra, Michelle, that when people start engaging in out of control eating, that they really need to wonder, what else is out of control in my life? Are there out of control feelings? And
Well,
to
Dan would say absolutely not. So maybe it's even a step just even zooming out more than that and just genuinely being curious. I got to start wondering at least. There's got to be more to this, right?
Right, right. We call it searching for clues, Michelle.
Sure.
What's going on? There's something going on in my life that I'm not addressing. So be curious and be watchful
And search for clues.
and search for clues.
Okay, all right. And then from our website where we have some of these videos posted, we have a question from Ava in Seattle. What are some practical steps for setting boundaries when you've never done it before? We didn't really talk about Dan's need to set boundaries, but if he was to allow himself to get in touch with his anger and his feelings, then the next step would be, I'm not going to let someone treat me this way, right?
Exactly. It's only his issue in not having boundaries is related to him not being able to experience his anger. If you can allow yourself to be angry and somebody says, "Hey, I've screwed you over, and will you be the pallbearer for my mother?" You're going to say, you're going to think, "Are you crazy?" And you're going to say something like, "I'm sorry, but I'm not available."
You know, I like the way you worded that because boundaries aren't about being mean. It's just saying no in an appropriate way
Exactly.
and just knowing that internally this isn't right for me and I
This
need
isn't appropriate. Your request is not appropriate.
and
You
there's
don't even have to say that, though. Just, "No, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't do that."
I can't do that. And that's it. So the first steps for setting boundaries is to kind of practice with some little things first, I think.
Yes,
Don't be that person who says yes to everything, right?
right. Because like her asking him to be the pallbearer, I'm sure that blindsided Dan. I don't think he was expecting her to ask him, the ex-husband,
Right.
to be the pallbearer. So we talk about taking pause. And if all else fails and you're put on the spot, then say, "I'm going to have to think about that and get back to you."
Perfect. Perfect. Okay.
Buy time
By time.
until you can figure out the right reaction, a reaction that you can be proud of and not embarrassed about.
Perfect. Okay, well, that's it for today. Stick around, there's more episodes to come. And remember,
Keep searching for clues.